William is the key person because William is going to be king one day.
As my heir, William now assumes the Scottish titles which have meant so much to me. I am proud to create him Prince of Wales.
They say the crown is eternal, that no matter the scandal, no matter the whispers, the monarchy survives. But what if this time it doesn't? Behind palace walls, secrets fester, alliances fracture, and a single truth, long buried, long silenced, threatens to erupt, not just tearing apart a family, but reshaping the very future of the crown itself. This isn't just another royal drama. It's a struggle between past and future, tradition and change, silence and truth. A struggle where every word carries weight, every choice sparks consequences, and every silence speaks louder than thunder. At the center of it all, William and Kate stepping out from the shadows, not as heirs waiting patiently, but as power players ready to seize control. Their move didn't just surprise the palace, it rewrote the game. And now, the monarchy stands at a crossroads it can no longer avoid. Because when the truth finally comes out, it won't just challenge the crown, it could break it. The day silence spoke louder than words. I don't believe peace will ever come in my family unless the truth is finally told. I dedicate myself to serve the people, the crown, and the Commonwealth. God save the king. The words had barely left his mouth when the palace air shifted. For a family that thrives on careful tradition and subtle gestures, what followed was unlike anything seen before. A sudden announcement cut through the quiet halls of royalty and sent shockwaves far beyond Buckingham Palace. Reporters scrambled. Royal watchers were left stunned. And for once, even insiders admitted, this was no accident. Earlier in the day, whispers had circled about environmental projects, about William and Kate's focus on the future. If we can pull together 50 real solutions in the next decade, we could change the way the world fights environmental collapse, William had said in private. But the buzz that afternoon was not about the planet. It was about the palace. Behind the steady smiles of William and Kate, there was a plan, a deliberate one. Not just about duty, not just about service. This was about power. After years of waiting, the younger royals seemed unwilling to stay in line any longer. The first signal came quietly, almost hidden.
Comes onto the throne.
It doesn't even matter how old you are. You could have little children that are next in the line to succeed in the throne.
A short note on the royal family's official website. A formal announcement will be made at 6 p.m. That was it. No extra details, no hints, no reassuring tone. The monarchy, usually obsessed with stage-managed messaging, had broken its own rules. No leaks to friendly journalists, no briefing notes slipped under the table. Just silence. A silence that screamed louder than words. The reaction was immediate. Media outlets went into panic. Phones rang off the hook. Theories flew across newsrooms. Some suggestions sounded absurd, others frighteningly believable. A sudden health scare? An abdication? A scandal too explosive to cover? Nobody knew, and that only made the tension worse. Even seasoned palace reporters confessed they had no idea what was happening. For a family whose every step is planned months in advance, the lack of preparation was terrifying. In royal circles, silence like this usually means one thing, something big. Then came another strange detail. William and Kate had skipped a scheduled event earlier that day. At the time, it seemed minor. Now, in hindsight, it looked like the missing piece of a puzzle. Something was building. At precisely 6 o'clock, the screens lit up. But instead of King Charles or Queen Camilla, it was William and Kate. No palatial background, no golden thrones, no soldiers in ceremonial dress, just the couple in what looked like a modest office. And yet, at that moment, they had the full attention of an entire nation. William spoke first. He didn't begin with a sweeping royal introduction or a long family history. Instead, his words cut straight to the bone, the The monarchy is not just a symbol, he said firmly. It is a responsibility. That single line hit like a lightning strike. It wasn't rebellion.
Crowned. Coronations are a declaration of our hopes for the future.
But it wasn't business as usual either. It was a new path. Kate followed with words that were calm, deliberate, and clear. This isn't about tradition. It's about trust. And just like that, with only a few sentences, the future of the monarchy began to shift. The Diana Initiative. Then came the bombshell. Kate revealed something that made every ear perk up: the launch of the Diana Initiative. It wasn't framed as a sentimental tribute or an annual flower ceremony. It was pitched as a living, breathing mission. A way to take Diana's legacy, kindness, honesty, compassion, and turn it into real, measurable action. For years, Diana's story had been softened, polished, even buried under royal protocol.
In fact, she was from a very noble aristocratic family, the Spencer family, which has century-long history.
But Kate was done with that. She wasn't going to let Diana's memory fade into myth. She would transform it into something active, loud, and lasting. From the very beginning, Kate insisted this wouldn't be a vanity project. No staged red carpets, no rehearsed smiles for photographers. Instead, she promised to go directly to the communities that needed help: women's shelters, struggling neighborhoods, families living with pain. She would sit down with survivors, listen to voices that were often ignored, and stand beside them, not above them. Observers saw it immediately. This wasn't about looking royal. This was about being useful. The comparisons to Diana were impossible to ignore. But Kate wasn't mimicking Diana. She was reshaping the playbook. Diana had once fought against the system from the outside. Kate, in contrast, was trying to lead change from within. The symbolism was powerful, and the world noticed. Social media exploded. Praise poured in, calling Kate the people's queen. Headlines praised her courage. For once, the monarchy didn't look like a museum relic. It looked like it had a pulse again. But inside the palace walls, the silence was deafening. Not a word from Charles, not a single note from Camilla, and that silence spoke volumes. Behind closed doors, tension crackled. Charles had not been told in advance. Shocked, he reportedly asked, "What have they done?" He wasn't furious, but he was blindsided. In his first fragile year as king, when all focus should have been on him, the spotlight had suddenly shifted. The nation wasn't looking at the monarch anymore. It was looking at William and Kate. Camilla, too, was unsettled. For decades, she had worked to repair her public image, slowly transforming from scandalous outsider to respected queen consort. But with the sudden resurrection of Diana's name, all the old ghosts came rushing back. The Diana Initiative wasn't just about kindness, it was a reminder of the one figure Camilla could never erase from memory. And Kate had brought her back, stronger than ever. Whispers spread through the palace. Advisors worried that Kate had bypassed the usual system, launching something so bold without royal approval. To Camilla, it felt like a threat. She wanted the project softened, tamed, brought under palace control. But aides warned her, if she tried to interfere, it would look bitter and jealous. So the palace chose silence. But silence didn't make the initiative fade. It only made it grow louder. Fault lines exposed. The cracks between generations widened. William told his closest aides, "This isn't up for debate. This is strategy." He wasn't looking for his father's permission. He was pushing ahead with intent. Charles, meanwhile, confided quietly to a friend, "The spotlight is slipping away." His words weren't angry. They were heavy with sadness. At one charity event, Camilla broke her usual composure. Asked about the initiative, she snapped, "The monarchy has always served with dedication. We don't need to invoke the past to prove it." Her words hit the headlines immediately. Many saw it as a direct jab at Kate. Kate responded days later, standing before supporters of the Diana Initiative. She said simply, "This work isn't about the past. It's about the future we build together. She didn't name Camilla. She didn't need to. The message was clear. What was once painted as a family united began to look like a kingdom divided. At first, the Diana initiative looked like the moment that could heal the royal family. For a brief second, it seemed like a bridge between past and future, between William and Harry. Harry even called it Mum's Legacy in Action, a phrase that quickly circled the globe and drew praise. But inside, William was furious. To him, Harry's public endorsement wasn't brotherly support. It was intrusion. Sources close to William said he felt blindsided, upset that Harry hadn't reached out before making such a bold statement. Their phone call afterward was tense. William reportedly told his younger brother, "You can't just jump in now," accusing him of using their mother's name to remain relevant. Harry, however, saw it differently. In his mind, Diana's legacy didn't belong to one royal or one palace. It belonged to the world. A few days later, in a televised American interview, he doubled down. "My mother's work is for everyone, not just the palace." The reaction was explosive. Some admired Harry for speaking so openly, calling him heartfelt and genuine. Others criticized him, accusing him of adding fuel to an already volatile situation. Online, memes exploded with quotes from both brothers. "Same mom, different fight," one viral post read. What was meant to be a unifying mission had become another battlefield. For Kate, caught in the middle, it was painful. She kept working quietly, visiting shelters and speaking with survivors, but headlines no longer focused on the initiative's progress. Instead, the press zeroed in on the feud. Diana's mission was being overshadowed by the very conflict she would have hated most. The sad truth? The royal brothers, once inseparable after their mother's death, were now further apart than ever, a power shift in motion. For the public, the rift between William and Harry was shocking. But for insiders, it was simply the result of a long-brewing power struggle. Harry's book had already peeled back the curtain. The story of a physical fight between the brothers left the world stunned. He described how William had grabbed him by the collar, torn his necklace, and shoved him onto a dog bowl that shattered beneath him. Harry's back was cut. William, realizing what he had done, later looked regretful, but the damage was already written into history. That wasn't just a sibling quarrel. It was a symbol of something far larger. William was no longer just a protective brother. He was a man preparing to lead, and Harry, with his rebellious streak, didn't fit the new design. The conflict deepened when Meghan entered the picture.
Prince Harry is addressing the rumored rift with Prince William, admitting that as brothers, they have, quote, good days and bad days.
William had reportedly called her difficult and abrasive, words that echoed cruel headlines in the press. Harry recognized it immediately. His own family was beginning to sound like the very media that had hounded his wife. According to insiders, palace staff worked quietly against Harry and Meghan, leaking negative stories that painted them as reckless and dramatic. Meanwhile, William and Kate stayed silent. They didn't defend the couple. They didn't intervene. They let the narrative unfold. Harry later said, "Some family members have chosen to get in bed with the devil to save their own image. But when that comes at the cost of others, me, my wife, my children, that's where I draw the line." To him, it wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy. And indeed, many insiders now believe William and Kate began deliberately clearing the path. Anyone who didn't align with their vision of the monarchy was quietly sidelined. Harry and Meghan, outspoken and independent, became the first casualties. The infamous bridesmaid dress incident had once seemed trivial. A fight over Princess Charlotte's outfit days before Meghan and Harry's wedding. At first, reports suggested Meghan had reduced Kate to tears. But later, Meghan revealed the opposite. It was she who cried. Now, new accounts suggest the truth was far more significant. According to palace staff, both women ended up in tears. But the aftermath is what mattered. Kate remained silent while the press pushed the version that suited her. the damaging story against Meghan was allowed to grow unchecked, and Meghan's reputation began to crumble. Insiders even suggest the narrative may have been quietly shaped before it reached the tabloids. The effect was undeniable. Meghan looked emotional and unstable. Kate looked calm and graceful. From then on, Meghan's role inside the royal family diminished. Invitations shrank. Her presence at events was quietly reduced. Photographs often showed her standing apart, while Kate was praised for elegance and restraint. It wasn't open warfare. It was subtle. Kate didn't need to fight Meghan in public. She simply had to let the silence work for her. Looking back, what seemed like a petty disagreement over a child's dress may have been the first decisive step in a quiet campaign to push Meghan to the margins. Camilla versus Kate. But Meghan wasn't the only woman caught in palace politics. Behind the smiles and public appearances, another rivalry simmered. This time between Kate and Queen Camilla. For Camilla, the crown was not just a title. It was a hard-won prize. For years, she had endured public scorn as the other woman. She had worked tirelessly to transform herself from reviled mistress to respected queen consort. Now that she finally held the title, she had no intention of stepping aside. But William and Kate were already planning ahead. Charles's cancer diagnosis had cast doubt on how long he could remain at the center of royal duties.
King Charles III is sharing a rare health update amid his cancer battle.
And behind closed doors, insiders whispered that once the time came, William and Kate intended to reshape Camilla's role, reducing her influence and narrowing her presence. The idea infuriated Camilla. She wasn't ready to be sidelined. To make matters worse, the public still hadn't fully accepted her. Memories of Diana lingered, especially now that Kate had revived her legacy in such a bold way. Camilla feared that all her years of rehabilitation could be undone in a single season. Some royal writers argue that Camilla had once been a quiet guide for Kate, helping her adjust to the rigid royal system. But others insist their relationship was more polite than warm. The smiles were for the cameras. Behind the scenes, the tension was real. Author Robert Hardman has suggested Camilla may remain active, but in a reduced capacity. And that's exactly what frightens her, because reduced influence means Kate's star rises even higher. Every step Kate takes, every project she launches, chips away at Camilla's authority. For the public, the shift is subtle, but inside the palace, it feels like an earthquake. The future at stake. The Diana Initiative was framed as compassion in action. To the outside world, it looked like a natural evolution of the monarchy. But to insiders, it was far more calculated. By launching it without approval, William and Kate demonstrated something crucial. They could move faster, act independently, and outshine the palace's traditional machinery. Charles may wear the crown, but William and Kate had captured the people. Donations surged. Hashtags like #PeoplesRoyals and #Diana Initiative trended globally. Crowds gathered outside Kensington Palace not in protest, but in celebration. And while Charles worried quietly about being overshadowed, William told his team bluntly, "This isn't about protocol. It's about survival." The royal family has always been about continuity, about the crown passing safely from one head to another. But now, the old ways were cracking. What was unfolding wasn't just a family feud. It was a generational battle for the future of the monarchy itself. So where does this leave Britain's most famous family? On the surface, the monarchy continues. Smiles, ceremonies, ribbon cuttings. But beneath the glitter, fault lines are widening. William and Kate have made themselves the face of modern royalty, using Diana's memory as both shield and sword. Charles, frail and struggling, feels the crown slipping from his grasp. Camilla, desperate to secure her place, clings tightly, even as the tide moves against her. And Harry, caught between loyalty to family and loyalty to his mother's truth, finds himself once again pushed to the edge. The Diana Initiative began as a tribute. It has become a weapon, The public sees compassion, the palace sees calculation, and somewhere between the two lies the truth, one that could decide not just the next chapter, but the very survival of the monarchy. The silence that started it all has become a storm, and this storm is far from over. And so, we stand at the edge of history, watching a family once defined by unity, now torn apart by silence, rivalry, and ambition. The Diana Initiative was never just a project. It was a spark, a reminder of a woman whose shadow still looms larger than the crown itself. William and Kate used it to ignite hope, to reshape the monarchy's future. But with every step forward, they've unearthed battles from the past, battles that refuse to stay buried. Charles fights to hold on. Camilla struggles to secure her place. Harry refuses to stay quiet. And William and Kate, they march ahead, rewriting the very rules of royal survival. This isn't just a story of crowns and castles. It's the story of power, family, and legacy colliding in real time. The kind of story where every move feels like destiny, and every silence hides a storm. The question now isn't whether the monarchy will change. It's how much it can endure before breaking completely. So I leave you with this. When history looks back at this moment, will it remember a family that stood together, or a dynasty undone from within? The storm has begun, and trust me, this story is far from over. If you want the truth behind the crown to keep unfolding, make sure to like this video and share it with others who refuse to look away.